Hi there, this is Andre from Cloud Solutions again. I want to discuss a technical or accounting perspective of the Loyverse and Zoho Books integration. And I'm going to deal about or discuss the stock items and syncing with Zoho Books. So for Loyverse stock items to Zoho Books, my recommendation is, and my opinion is, do not do this. Just because it's possible and some integration tools allow these to be integrated, that doesn't mean there's a logical or good reason from an accounting perspective or point of view to actually do it. So in accounting terms, Loyverse is considered the inventory subledger. So the subledger means that all the details of the control account or the inventory value is held in Loyverse, and there's no need to replicate that into Zoho Books. So Zoho Books should only hold the value or the cost value of your inventory. It need not have a breakdown, as this can be exported at Loyverse whenever required as a supporting document to provide details of how that value is actually made up. So, like I said, recommend do not do this. Okay, dealing with purchase orders. So my recommendation is that you issue the itemized purchase orders from Loyverse. So that means that your stock items, etc., your SKUs, your supplier, etc., is all in Loyverse so you can manage the stock. So issue the PO from that and send the PO from Loyverse to the supplier. The one of the issues there is that Loyverse's email is used as the email address that this is sent from, but your suppliers will get used to that. Now you need to do is manually enter the purchase order into books just as a total value. So a breakdown by item is not important in Zoho Books, as I've said. This process is manual simply because the current purchase orders in Loyverse are not exposed via the API. So this is why we need to manually enter into Zoho Books. So once again, I'm suggesting download the PO once it's issued to the supplier down to as a PDF, and then use that as the source reference to create the value of the purchase order in the Zoho Books. If you're not sure of the price of the items and you leave those values blank, then you can leave the purchase order in books in maybe draft until such time you get a bill from the supplier, and then you can enter that data as a total correctly. Point 3, we recommend to have the same set of purchase order numbers in Loyverse and Zoho Books. Okay, so each time you manually record the issued PO in Zoho Books, the same PO number is allocated. This is easy to do and makes a lot of sense, and then there's no confusion when you're referencing a particular purchase order number. It's quite clear whether you're looking in Zoho Books or Loyverse. When entering the PO and invoice bills into Zoho Books, so for example, once the PO has been issued and you receive the invoice back from the supplier, which we now would be calling a bill, when you enter it into Zoho Books, the analysis code should be inventory, and it should not be cost of goods sold, i.e. bar purchases or purchases, right? So all your POs need to be sent or recorded, should I say, of stock should be going to inventory and not purchases. You will need to add a new inventory account into Zoho Books because the existing account, so if you try to use Zoho Inventory as an analysis code, it won't let you because it's already connected to Zoho Inventory and the Zoho range of products. So you need to create a new account under, say, other current assets and call it bar inventory or shop 123 inventory or whatever you want, but create a new account and then you can use that. the existing account in your chart of accounts is already kind of flagged and controlled, so you can't post directly to that account. That's all connected to inventory management within the Zoho suites. So, and the last point here is for purchase orders issued directly from Zoho Books, i.e., so what I'm saying here is use the automated PO allocation number in Zoho Books to coincide and synchronize sequentially with Loyverse. However, there will be times when you want to issue a purchase order directly from Zoho Books for other items rather than just inventory. So for example, the purchase of an asset or for maintenance service request. So what I do is, or what I suggest we do is manually use a different PO sequence. So I would turn off the automated PO number allocation, and to be fair, 80% of my POs are purchases, for example, and let's say 10 or 20% are for different requests, different requirements. So therefore, I don't have to do this that often. So we could start with a new range of codes. So for example, all my non-inventory POs would start with 900. Okay, so that's quite easy. So I can have a look at what the previous one was and then just manually add it. So 900, 123, and then the next one becomes 124. Whereas auto-allocated PO numbers for bar purchases are in sequence with Loyverse, i.e. 10901, 10902, etc. Okay. One of the final points I'll just discuss, there are a few more, but I'll just kind of complete this section, then we can have a quick look at Zoho and Loyverse. But at the month end, when you're doing your accounts, once you've performed, say, your physical stock take to make sure your inventory is accurate, you can generate your inventory valuation report from Loyverse. Okay, so in that screenshot there, you can see that my inventory value is 3380.50. Okay, if I was to look in my balance sheet, what I would probably see is in Zoho Books is my inventory value is, for example, 3,850. And it should always be greater because during the month, additional purchases have been added to my inventory. But at this point, nothing's been reduced. So for all my sales, my inventory in my Zoho Books has not been reduced. So what we do at the month end is simply create a journal to adjust the figure on the balance sheet to reflect the same value as that in Loyverse, and that represents the cost of our purchases during the month. So that's really how you should do it. The only thing to note, however, is that Loyverse values include GST, because the selling price that we're using within Loyverse includes the GST value. So if something's $5 or $10, that includes a portion of tax. If, however, you use the systems differently, whereby you're using excluded tax, so you add on the tax value at the end, then technically the value would be not including taxes. But I think in most cases, particularly in retail, you include prices in the taxes included within the price. So what I'm saying here is Loyverse includes the value of your GST or VAT in your valuation report. However, for accounting purposes, GST and VAT are not included. So therefore, the Zoho Books value must be less all taxes. So this adjustment is required. So we really need to do two adjustments. One is that the value in the balance sheet needs to be reduced down to the same value as Loyverse, and then that value has to have the GST removed. So therefore, the value in the accounts that we actually end up reflecting will be possibly $3,100, for example, because that would be the net tax value. So let's have a look at some of those points that I've brought up. Okay, so here I'm going to have a look at our purchase orders within Loyverse, and you can see my PO numbers are 1072, 1071, 1070, and if I look at my purchase orders and books, 70, 71, 70. So if I create a new purchase order here, this will be given 173, okay, 1073, and if I manually add this here, I'll also get 173. And as I said, if I was raising a purchase order that was not related to inventory, it would be a 900 number. Okay, so you can see I know this is not inventory because I manually did it. So how I would do that would be come in here and simply I'm going to use a manual number this time, and I would enter whatever the sequence number was, and that way I've got two sequences running at the same time. If I go down to my chart of accounts, you'll see that I've got a bar stock value here, and you can see these are the bills that have come in which also coincide with our valuation, or sorry, our purchase orders. So this particular one, 11516, will be this one because this includes the tax value, and then Zoho will be showing it without the tax value. Okay, you'll also see at the month end we've created a journal to adjust the balance sheet. So once again, if I have a look at that, let's have a look for previous month. So you can see the cost items coming through here, and then down the bottom I've created the adjustment journal, and as you can see I've got Loyverse, the GST content, the net, and then I've got today's current balance sheet number value. So my journal is adjusting or reducing the balance sheet value of 3820.96 down to this value here, which is my net Loyverse value, and that will bring those two products in line. Normally I would possibly, you see the attachment here, you can see I've also attached the valuation report from Loyverse that I extracted at that point to support where I got that data from and my journal. So they are the key things to understand. So when we create our purchase order, the items are here and not in Zoho. So if I was to look at a previous PO like this one, you'll see I've got 3 items and the value is 132. If I look at that 71 PO, this one, you'll see my purchase order here is just for a value. Okay, I don't have any details. What I do have, however, is the attachment of the PO that came out of Loyverse. Okay, so I can see what the breakdown is, but what I've been saying is it's not important to have the details of what I'm buying, the itemized details in Zoho Books. Keep that in Loyverse. Okay, so hopefully that's given you some clear direction on how to deal with the costs in Loyverse versus Zoho Books. What items do I put in Zoho Books, and how do I make sure everything's in synchronized and makes sense? So what I've explained is the best way to manage your individual items. Keep all your stock in one system, and the accounting system need only have the total amounts. So if you've got any questions, I'm happy to take them. You can send me emails on inquiry, UIRY inquiry at Cloud Solutions Asia. Thank you for watching, and once again I hope this was useful.